Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
In today's video, we'll be ranking every top-end speed boot currently available in 2023 from best to worst, starting with the worst. Which, by the way, doesn't make them a bad pair of football boots, because the current crop of offerings in the speed category are actually really strong across the board. So while I'll be sharing my own personal opinions and experiences with all of these football boots, keep in mind that your own personal preferences are super important, which is why you need to pick based on what you like, and feel free to share your pick for the best speed boot of the year down in the comment section. And if by chance you're interested in any of these 9 boots, you can pick them up below their normal retail prices by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the links down below. And really quickly, before we get going, if you enjoy these types of videos, don't forget to support it with a like, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2023. At the 9 spot, and technically the worst ranked top-end speed boot available this year, is the 2023 edition of the Puma Ultra Ultimate, which, like we just talked about, does not make this a bad pair of football boots. I actually think these are very, very solid, and considering their $220 retail price, they're less expensive than some of the more popular options on this list. However, considering what you get for the money and how they compare objectively to the other options out there, it's a thin textile upper that ultimately does feel more rigid and plasticky than all of the alternatives. I think from a comfort perspective, you can just get a more comfortable fit and feel from other football boots. And as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, while it's really solid, it's definitely not a standout. Not to mention, these are significantly heavier than what the Puma Ultra series used to have on offer, where they used to be the lightest boots on the market. Not to say that these are heavy, but again, there are lighter options out there in this category. It's not a bad football boot, it's actually very well rounded, but it has nothing about it that stands out compared to the competition. The ADIDAS X Crazyfast 0.1 laceless. Again, an excellent pair of football boots that falls pretty low in the rankings, mainly because of its main feature of not having any laces, where I understand the laceless thing is not for everybody at this point. If you're into it, I think this is genuinely the best laceless speed boot on the market. The comfort is actually really good as well. However, objectively, when it comes to lockdown and general responsiveness, it's just lacking compared to just about every other football boot on this list. From a touch perspective, I do like the feel that the laceless design provides with this particular upper. However, not having the laces to hold your foot in place does, in my opinion, take away from that kind of one-to-one connection that I would expect from a super thin, lightweight speed boot. From a weight perspective, they are very lightweight, and the sole plate and stud pattern is also top-notch, one of the more responsive sole plates on the market. But again, because you have that stretch across the top of the foot, it just makes the boots feel looser than I think they should be, or at least looser than what you can get from other options. Great if you want a laceless boot, not so great if you want the best objective performance. At number 7, while still relatively low on this list, the New Balance FURON V7 Pro is actually a phenomenal pair of football boots and one of the better options in terms of overall value for money, with a retail price of $215, but because they're not the most popular, you can often find them pretty deeply discounted. What's great about the FURON V7 Pro is this super thin textile upper gives you a very sock-like sensation on the ball, and the unique off-centered lacing system not only pushes the laces out of the way, almost giving this a little bit of a laceless football boot experience in terms of touch, but it also does a really good job of securing your foot in place and providing a very responsive feel. It's one of the lightest options on the market, and the sole plate, while maybe not a standout, it does have that nice solid feel underfoot with a stud pattern that is very Mercurial-esque. I don't want to call it a straight up copy, but you can see the chevron studs are very reminiscent of what we used to see on the Vapor 11 and SUPERFLY 5 from Nike. Also, unlike every other speed boot on this list, this is available in regular as well as wide fit. So if you do have particularly wide feet, the wide fit variation of this football boot will likely be the most comfortable for you in the entirety of the speed category. The ADIDAS X Crazyfast 0.1, effectively the same thing that you get with the laceless model, but with, of course, the lacing system across the top of the foot, which makes the world of difference in terms of lockdown and overall responsiveness. bonus. The super thin upper feels great on the ball, moves nicely with your feet. The shape and general heel construction has been modified quite significantly over the Speed Portal 0.1 that it replaces, being overall a gigantic improvement with a sole plate and stud pattern that is responsive, lightweight, with overall aggressive traction at $260. It's a little bit on the pricey side as far as what else is on this list, but it's from a brand that people really recognize. The Adidas X line has a pretty good reputation, and if you've worn the Adidas X in the past and really like them, I think there's a lot to like about the Crazyfast 0.1 with laces. Which brings us into the top 5, where at the 5 spot I have the Nike Zoom Mercurial SUPERFLY 9 Elite, a phenomenal pair of football boots, and depending on personal preference, you could easily rank these at number 1, particularly if you want a mid-cut collar, this being realistically the only mid-cut speed boot currently on the market in 2023, which is actually a little bit surprising, but its $275 retail price is higher than most of the other football boots on this list for reasons that aren't really justified when it comes to performance. Again, if you like the mid-cut collar for whatever reason, definitely I think it's worth the extra 25 bucks over the Vapor, but if that's not your thing, you're effectively spending extra money on nothing more than some material around your ankle. Objectively though, very hard to fault the Mercurial, super lightweight, incredible fit, great touch on the ball, aggressive traction, and the Air Zoom technology that you have in the forefoot feels unlike anything else. One of the most technically impressive speed boots currently on the market. The Adidas X Crazyfast Plus is pretty much the closest thing you're going to find right now to a classic F50 ADIDAS model. It is the lightest football boot on the market by quite a significant margin, and if you want that weightless sensation, quite honestly, nothing even comes close. The upper is incredibly thin while maintaining a surprisingly high level of comfort and also pretty decent responsiveness. I love the fact that it has a traditional U-throat construction and standalone tongue with this nice deep central lacing system, allowing for great adjustability. The heel construction is fantastic, and the sole plate and stud pattern that you get on the 0.1 variations of the Crazyfast does make its way onto the Plus model as well. The downside here is these are quite expensive at $300, and there are football boots that do similar things for significantly less money, but again, if you just want the lightest possible feel from your boots, I think that price tag is actually justified. Rounding out the top 3, we have the Mizuno Alpha, this particular variation being the Made in Japan model, which I would argue is the best of the best in the lineup in terms of overall quality. However, its $320 retail price is a tough pill to swallow, which is why for the vast majority of people, especially given that it's a Mizuno product without a leather upper, I would actually go for the less expensive Alpha Elite variation. This is not made in Japan, but it retails for $200, making it one of the more affordable top-end speed boots on the market and effectively gives you 99% of the exact same experience. They're lightweight football boots, incredibly comfortable considering how thin they are, in a lot of ways very similar to that of the Crazyfast Plus, with a couple extra grams, but still one of the lighter options on the market. And again, at $200, it's really tough to beat the overall quality of the Alpha Elite. The sole plate and stud pattern also feels fantastic, giving you nice aggressive traction and a solid feel underfoot. For the money, you just won't find anything quite this good. At the 2 spot, we have a very recent release, but one that ultimately isn't that different from the boot that it replaces, this being the Made in Japan Mizuno Morelia Neo 4 Beta, a slightly modified variation of the Neo 3 Beta that it replaces, with a retail price north of $330, making it the most expensive speed boot currently on the market. But for that price tag, if you can justify it, the quality is simply second to none. And in comparison to every other speed boot on this list, and in terms of what's just currently available, the only one that's going to offer you not just a leather upper, but some of the nicest kangaroo leather you'll find on any football boot, period. They're incredibly soft, incredibly comfortable. The fit of this boot is phenomenal. They're lightweight, and the conical stud pattern, again, really sets this apart from the crowd in the speed category, providing more aggressive traction than you might expect, but still with that freedom to twist and pivot. Again, if you're a fan of the leather F50 ADIDAS days, those unfortunately are no longer available. These, however, would be a fantastic alternative if you can justify the price tag, but trust me when I say this is as good as it gets as far as leather speed boots go. Which brings us to what I think are the best speed boots of 2023, a surprise to absolutely nobody, the Nike Zoom Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite. It's the most popular top-end speed boot on the market, for good reason. From a technological standpoint, it's one of the most impressive football boots ever made. The Vaporposit Plus upper is thin, offers a premium barefoot feel on the ball, is remarkably comfortable against your foot, and just has the perfect balance of pliability as well as structure, giving you that locked-in one-to-one responsive sensation. The nice central lacing system allows for plenty of adjustability. The low-cut design makes the boot as light as possible, this being one of the lightest speed boot options on the market. The sole plate is fantastic. The Air Zoom tech underfoot, while touted as a speed element, is more of a comfort element, and in my opinion just feels absolutely unbelievable with every step you take. Truly one of the most noticeable technologies in football boots today. And of course, Mercurials have always been the gold standard as far as aggressive traction, and the Vapor 15 Elite is no different. At $250, they obviously aren't cheap, but you can spend significantly more and get something that arguably just isn't as good.